Welcome back. We're talking about the application of m-commerce in mutual funds. I think for the sector at this point of time, if there's a single big challenge that all mutual funds across the sector are facing, it's really about collections. It's about bringing in the money and the last mile connectivity for bringing in those small ticket investments. That's where there's always been a struggle. So, we've spoken a lot about how you can use the mobile platform, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about converting that initiation into an actual acquisition of a client and actually seeing that check come in, seeing that money come in. Mobile commerce, how is that going to help with that last mile connectivity? Let's just get thoughts on that. Let's start from you, Mr. Joshi.
Yeah, the way I see mobile helping us get money, especially from remote places where we are looking at growth, rural India where we are looking at growth. Mobile payment with the help of bank getting transferred into mutual fund account is the surest way for that investor who's in tier 3, tier 4 or rural India, any of the cities, transfer money. And see, what is important is today if he gives a check, then by the time he gets the information whether check is cleared or no, it takes good 8-10 days. Here on a real-time basis, he transfers money and the transfer information is given back to him by way of SMS. And for AMC, reconciling this money and providing timely service to that investor, I clearly see a win-win here, both from investor point of view as well as from...
And yet, we understand all this, and yet it's not taken off yet. It just looks like it's such an easy solution to follow. It's still going to be a long time. Our ATMs took 10 years to really become widespread in terms of popularity. Where do we see this going, Edwin?
I think it's difficult to put a timeline to it, but the only thing we see in history is that every innovation takes shorter to adapt. So what you should say is that it should be at least less than 10 years, maybe 5 or 6. I think we really need to understand that it's changing customer behavior, but it will take time. So my bet is it takes at least 2-3 years minimum
before this can actually start to show meaningful change. Praveena, just tell us a little bit. We know that we have very robust banking systems because the RBI especially is at the back of all of this and trying to get this to go through. But still, just in terms of investments, mutual fund investments are something which people want to be insured about, and just in terms of security of transaction, just know that the money is going to the right place and there's no room for fraud to take place. How would you ensure that and sort of placate customers and investors that this is the right route to take?
So let's take IMPS as an example, which is completely backed by the RBI today. So the security around the IMPS starts with the fact that you don't need to divulge your account number. So you use something called the mobile money identifier. So your account number is not there out in the system. It's not there as part of the information that's flowing from your phone into any application. The second would be the controls around limits. So if it's sub 5,000, you could do it using SMS, but anything more than 5,000 needs a very light application, an application that can work on a 3,000, 4,000 rupee phone. So it's not very heavy, but it has a certain security layer around it, which ensures security of transactions. And of course, given that RBI has chosen to execute this using the banks, it implies that the security standards have to be adhered to, the right kind of controls, the right, fraud and risk management techniques that banks apply to any other transaction holds good for this. And I think that's a very key decision that, that India has taken, that the controls around this will really be with the banking system. And I think that to a large extent should elude any fears with investors around security.
Final words, Sandeep, from you. And we've seen in other countries, we've also seen the telco being a big part of this entire money movement mechanism. How do you see that playing out in India? Is it going to be the banking system that's going to really take the lead on this, or do you see the cell phone companies being more aggressive in the sub 5,000 category where they're allowed to operate? Is that going to be the area?
No, I think as Praveena mentioned that this is this move is backed by RBI, and you can actually do it with any phone, literally. Therefore, I don't think that any telco is going to take the lead on this, or it's going to be championed really by, I think, any bank. What the telecom operators have done is to have penetration at tier 3, 4, 5, 6 cities. What the banks have done is built the technology to allow the transfer to take place. What the asset managers and the mutual funds have done is create the technology to provide a vehicle to use existing infrastructure for the saving. And if we are able to educate and financially make them aware of the benefits of investing, and as you also mentioned that India is underinvested. So once we are able to increase the financial literacy on the whole thing, you got every element ready for it to take place, and therefore it will be bank agnostic, it will be telco agnostic. All you need is a robust technology which will be provided by any bank, backed by RBI, any telco, which has to meet competitive standards.
Well, in any kind of revolution, there's always an inflection point till which you've seen a slow adaptation and suddenly something takes off, and it takes off like you've never seen it before. Of course, Apple comes closest to mind at this point of time with the way their iPads and their iPhones have just completely taken over the world. We'll see the same kind of movement coming in terms of mobile transactions also. That's really where the wind is blowing. We've seen that there's a cost advantage to it. You've got a good, robust banking system that's backing it. You've got the full distribution, which really takes it down to the rural hinterland. Once again, it's a question of cost dynamics that play everywhere. If you're able to tap at the very remote end the customer who doesn't want to put in more than say 100 or 200 rupees per month into an SIP, and at the top end where you can have your smartphones which can really give extremely high value-added service to clients, it'll really be a win-win situation for all. So definitely mobile transactions and mobile commerce is something that's here to stay. The time it takes to really become widespread, we'll wait and watch. But the steps that we've seen being taken at this point of time certainly are in the right direction.